Good morning. Welcome to Online Learning Week number 2. I just wanted to clarify some things because I think people are not sure when everything is due and what's due on which day. As far as assignments, there will always be a homework assignment. So today's homework assignment is called Corrections and Extensions. That would be due today by 8 p.m. So that's how you're going to get a grade in the grade portal today. And it's also one way that I can mark that you're present today. The other thing that you need to do today is something called classwork, and then the classwork so far has been either an ed puzzle or a video to watch that I've made. Today's is an ed puzzle, so if you go into Google Classroom, you're going to see that there is homework due today, and you'll see classwork due today. So both of those are methods that you can show me that you are present in class. I'm able to actually see in ed puzzle who has accessed my videos and who has not. So if you go into, like, here's an example of the way your classwork looks in Google Classroom. So you can see that corrections and extensions are due today. You can see that your ed puzzle is due at 8 o'clock tonight. And you can see that your next homework assignment is not going to be due until Wednesday. So that's what you can see there. And then in ed puzzle, if I go in there, I can look at students and I can see what they've accessed. So if I go into Edpuzzle, I can see that the video that I assigned last week, some people spent 8 minutes on it and some people spent 0 seconds on it. So you can actually go in and see who has accessed the video and who has not looked at it yet. So make sure that that's, like I said, that's just one way that I can mark you present that day, is if you participated in that assignment. So one last thing as far as classwork due today. So we've got our ed puzzle today, and then finally I did assign something that's going to be due next class, so that will be due on Wednesday this week. So that's basically how you can be attending class, is these first two things. The homework will go in the grade portal, and then there is a homework that you can work on between now and Wednesday. Hopefully that helps. The other part of this video is I was going to help you if you have any problems with your calculating excess. So I was going to use an example of your worksheet. So if you go, you have an assignment due that's called corrections and extensions. So I was going to work through number 1 on your worksheet with you. If you already know how to do this, you can just go ahead and leave this video. But if you feel like you could use some help in calculating excess, you can go ahead and watch, and I think this might be helpful. So here is problem 1 on your limiting reaction worksheet. So if you go to your limiting reactant worksheet, you can see problem number 1, and this is just, I've just kind of copied it onto this slide here. So here is problem number 1. It asks you for 3.22 moles of aluminum reacting with 4.96 moles of hydrogen bromide. So the first thing I like to do on these problems is I like to label my given. So you can see it's got 3.22 moles of aluminum. So I could go ahead and label 3.22 moles here. Again, I'm writing with a mouse, so it's not great, but it's better than nothing. So we've got 3.22 moles of aluminum. So I'm going to label that right there. And then I've got 4.96 moles. So I'm going to label that here. So 4.96 moles. And then the problem asks me to calculate how many grams of hydrogen can be made. So over here with the hydrogen, I'm going to write question mark grams, because that reminds me that's what I'm actually trying to solve for. So when it says how many grams, I'm going to mark that question mark grams. I'm also going to go ahead and cross out this guy here because the question is not being asked about that one. So that means I don't need to worry about that one for calculations. Okay, so when you do your limiting reactant problem, you're going to be doing 2 conversions. You're going to be going from, you're going to be going from this reactant over to this product. That's one conversion. And then you're going to be going from this reactant over to the same exact product, so you can compare the 2 amounts. So my first problem, I'll go ahead and write my given. So 3.22 moles of aluminum. So I'll have to be kind of patient with my mouse writing here. 3.22 moles, ooh, that was ugly, of aluminum. And I'm going to go ahead and try to get over here to grams of hydrogen. So I'm trying to get rid of moles of aluminum, so I'm going to write moles of aluminum down here. And I know that the only way I can move from one place on my equation to another place is through the mole ratio. So if I'm going to use a mole ratio to get from here to here, I can see my ratio is a 2 here and a 3 here. That's my balanced coefficients. So I'm going to write a 2 right there, and I'm going to put 3 moles of hydrogen on top because that's what I want to get to. So 3 moles of hydrogen on top. And then I'm going to check and see what unit my question is asking for. So you can see that I'm asking for grams of hydrogen. So I'm going to have to do one more conversion to get myself to grams of hydrogen over here. And when I do that, I know that I can get rid of moles of hydrogen by putting moles of hydrogen down on the bottom. So I have moles of hydrogen on the bottom, and that allows me to cancel those guys out. And this, remember, this is going to be a conversion from my 3x5 card. So this, I have to look up the molar mass of hydrogen. So that turns out that it is 2.0158 if I look up that on the periodic table. So 2.0158. And that's how many grams of hydrogen there is in 1 mole of hydrogen. So look what cancels out. Moles of aluminum cancels out with moles of aluminum. And that means that if I do this calculation, I'm left with grams of hydrogen, which is what I'm trying to solve for up here in this problem. So if you punch that in your calculator, you should be getting an answer. It turns out that it is 9.74. So if you go ahead and I'll put in 9.74, and that is, of course, grams of hydrogen. So that's the result of that conversion. And then you're going to do one more conversion. You're going to go from 4.96 moles of this reactant over to the same exact product. So let's go ahead and set that one up. So 4.96, and that's going to be moles of hydrogen bromide. Mouse writing here. And I'm going to go ahead and set up a mole ratio because I want to get rid of moles of hydrogen bromide. So moles of hydrogen bromide will go down here. And then I'm trying to get to my grams of hydrogen over here. So I have to use the mole ratio to get over here. So I'm going to set up another mole ratio, moles of hydrogen. And you can see that you have a 6:3 ratio this time. So I'm going to put a 6 here, and I'm going to put a 3 right there. That gets rid of moles of hydrogen bromide. And then finally, I have moles of hydrogen that I'm going to put in the same conversion that I used up here. So 2.0158 is my grams of hydrogen that I got from the periodic table. So that's grams of hydrogen. And then that's per 1 mole of hydrogen. And you can see that moles of hydrogen will cancel out for me now. So moles of hydrogen cancels out with moles of hydrogen. And when I put that calculation into my calculator, I'm going to round to 3 sig figs, and I get 5 grams of hydrogen. Okay, so that was your first homework. That was a homework that you had a while ago where you were supposed to calculate these two. Now, look at these two right here. You can see that 5 grams is less than 9.74 grams. So what we're going to do is we're going to say which reactant gave us less product. So definitely this one right here. This is the reactant that gave us only 5 grams. The other reactant gave us 9.74 grams. So that's what we're going to call hydrogen bromide. We're going to call that our limiting reactant. So I'm going to go ahead and label up here. This one is my limiting reactant, and this one over here is my excess reactant. Okay, so the final part is how to calculate excess. So what you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, my limiting reactant is where I know I need all this. My excess reactant, that's extra. I don't need all of that, but I want to know how much of this 3.22 is extra. So that means I need to do one more stoichiometry calculation. I need to say, if I have 4.96 moles of my limiting reactant, how much of my excess reactant do I actually need? So I'm going to go ahead and do that calculation. I think I'm going to slide up here and do it up here. So let's just start with our 4.96 moles of our limiting reactant. And I'm going to go ahead and convert that into how many moles of my excess reactant that I need. So the reason I'm using moles is because that was the unit that I was given. So I'm going to go ahead and use my mole ratio, 6 moles of hydrogen bromide. And I'm going to use the mole ratio of 6:2 that I got from that right there. So this is going to be 2 moles of aluminum. And you can see moles of hydrogen bromide cancels out moles of hydrogen bromide. And I have converted into moles of aluminum. Okay, and when I do that calculation, I'm going to get 1.65. 1.65 moles of aluminum. Okay, so that's how much of my excess reactant I actually need. So that's supposed to say need. That's how much is actually going to react. So that word is need. Okay, so this is how much aluminum I actually need, and this is how much aluminum I actually have. So the way I'm going to calculate excess is I'm going to take 3.22 moles of aluminum that I have, so 3.22 moles of aluminum, and then I'm going to subtract how many that I only needed. So I only needed 1.65 moles of aluminum. So notice that it's all moles of aluminum. That's all my excess reactant right here. And then when I subtract it, I get 1.57 moles of aluminum. Okay, so see, I have 3.22 moles of aluminum that I have minus 1.65 moles of aluminum that I need, that I just calculated up here. And when I subtract, I get 1.57 moles of aluminum, and that is how much excess that I have. And that's how you calculate excess right there. That's your answer. Okay, hopefully this video was helpful, and I'll look for your assignments coming in today. Have a good one.